From Margazan to Marshall, Fox Lake to Fall River, Watertown to Waupun, and everywhere in between. We're talking about what's important in your hometown. This is Hometown Today on 95.3 WBEV, powered by Daily Dodge.
Happy Monday. It is a gorgeous summer day, a lot of sunshine. We're already at 70 degrees. Amy Hudson here with you in the Summerland Furniture Studios and the Daily Dodge TV studios as we stream live at dailydodge.com. Check out the stream. Super easy for you to do that. One way is on our YouTube channel. Subscribe to that. Click on the notifications icon so you don't miss any of the happenings in the Daily Dodge TV studio. And know that you can also head to dailydodge.com, click on the Daily Dodge TV tab, and that's it. It really is that simple. I'm so looking forward to launching into a conversation with a great guy, our local historian, Roger Noll. He will be joining us here this hour on Hometown Today, and he's going to be taking us back in time, the history of the Dodge County Fair. Of course, the Dodge County Fair kicks off this Wednesday, going through Sunday. Make sure that you are taking some time to check out the happenings in Radio Park. You can get the rundown of every day on the Dodge County Fair tab on dailydodge.com. We have some great new things that will be happening at Radio Park and certainly don't want you to miss out on any of them. Hometown Today presented by Professional Floor, covering your floor and so much more, and brought to you in part by McKinstry's Home Furnishings in beautiful historic downtown Beaver Dam. We'll also be checking in with Tom Ballweg from Ballweg Implement. He'll be ringing us up here soon in a few. It's all happening right here on Hometown Today on your hometown station, 95.3 WBEV, powered by Daily Dodge.
Hey, it's Randy from Professional Floor Covering. You're listening to Hometown Today on the 5,000-watt flamethrower on your hometown station, 95.3 WBEV, powered by Daily Dodge.
I love learning things right before we go on the air. And Roger Noll, our guest this hour, just shared with me that he had a birthday yesterday. Happy belated birthday.
Well, thank you.
You are welcome. Roger is here with us this morning to give us a history lesson. He'll be walking us through the history of the Dodge County Fair. Of course, this Wednesday, a big day because it is the kickoff day for the Dodge County Fair. The fun goes through Sunday. Come on by Radio Park and visit us. Have a lot of fun with us. Make sure you check out the schedule at dailydodge.com. You can do that by clicking on the Dodge County Fair tab. And it does all start happening coming up on Wednesday. And at Radio Park, it is Sports Day. We have fun for you all throughout the day. Of course, Wade and Sherry will be out there doing the morning show live presented by Juno Lanes. Hometown Today will also be live from Radio Park during the Dodge County Fair. We will welcome in Horicon Superintendent Rich Apple along with Horicon Mayor Josh Moss. Really excited that Marsh Talk is back with us as we get set to head back to school. So the show will also be live in Radio Park. You can join us for Marsh Talk starting at 11:10 this Wednesday during our Sports Day in Radio Park. Sports trivia will be happening for really the entire afternoon from noon until 6. And here is the deal with that. We are giving you a chance to enjoy the Brewers live at American Family Field. So stop on by Radio Park during our Sports Day this Wednesday and fill out a 3-question sheet. If you get all 3 questions right, you will have a chance to win 4 tickets to see the Brewers game on September 20th, and we'll be drawing for that winner at 6 o'clock this Wednesday during Sports Day at Radio Park. We'll also have Wisconsin Sports Preview Show live for you from 2 to 4. Pat McCurdy will be rocking up Radio Park with a lot of fun from 5 to 6:30. Pat McCurdy presented by the Thirsty Beaver in Slumberland, and then the live video stream of the Dog Obedience Show on Daily Dodge TV starting at 6 o'clock. Woo, that is just one day, and we get to have 5 days of fun during the Dodge County Fair. Roger, we always enjoy you stopping by to visit with us. We always learn something from you when you're on the air, and really looking forward to you kind of taking us through the years of the Dodge County Fair. And kind of a no-brainer here, but I think we should probably start the very first Dodge County Fair.
Well, yeah, and it wasn't here in Beaver Dam. It was actually in Juneau.
Oh.
And it was in 1867. It wasn't much.
No.
Basically a tent, and they had some races. And then it sporadically was in Juneau for like 2 more years over the next 10 years. But in 1886, that's when it came to Beaver Dam, to its location on where the Wayland Fieldhouse is right now.
Okay.
And that adjoining land. It was interesting that it actually began as a horse racing place. John S. Rowell, who basically started the entire industry of Beaver Dam and kept it going for nearly 100 years. He started it. It was not regular horse racing; it was harness racing. That was the big thrill of the moment. But what they did is they bought this property, and the guy who owned it was a good old Baptist, and he said, "You cannot hold horse races on that property." And they just said, "Oh, okay, we're just going to train our horses, okay? We're not going." So he was rather elderly, and as soon as he died, they did.
The races were off.
The races were on, and so they built the track, and then deeded the property over eventually to what was called the Dodge County Agricultural Society. Although Juneau was more centrally located for the state, farmers to come in from all over. Beaver Dam is more to the west of the county. Of the county. Beaver Dam just had the amenities to make it more enjoyable for people to come to town. They could provide housing. The railroad came right through. It did not come through Juneau at the time.
Yeah, that would have been a really big deal.
And so they built up this huge place on that site. Many buildings, obviously for the showing of animals, for the showing for dealing with crops. A huge, carnival of rides from the very inception of it. Huge buildings for manufacturers. There were 2 huge dining halls on the premises. They did a very clever thing with the track in that they built the track and then they they built a tunnel underneath it so that you could take your initially later for cars and then for your buggies and stuff. And so you would go underneath the track and then you would park in the middle of the horse track. My dad, and then they made that out of cement. So it was, my dad told me that when he was young, if it really rained hard, and that underground track that went for quite a ways, that it would become flooded and they would use it as a swimming pool.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. So it was like the Beverly Hillbilly cement pond, I guess.
Oh, that's great.
So so the crowds were just became huge. As we said, horse racing was kind of the big thing at the very beginning. Almost every local to-do guy around Beaver Dam owned a harness racing horse. And in fact, if you go up like Washington Street and down University, Henry, those kind of streets, you'll see that there are these huge barns in the backyards, and that's where they kept their horses.
Wow, that's really interesting.
Yeah. The big horse was called the Bell Rowell, and it won every year. And of course, it was John Rowell's horse. Let's see what else about the horse racing can I tell you? The horse racing went on for years and years, and in fact was still going on in the 50s and 60s and even the 70s.
Oh, wow.
Eventually, they would change it up and go into a little car racing and a little demolition derby type thing.
Oh, boy.
Like in the 50s and 60s. But there was a huge grandstand. In fact, in 1921, they put, in 1921 $50,000 in building this grandstand.
Wow! In 1921, $50,000.
Yeah,
a lot of money.
And that grandstand, lasted. Unfortunately, because of Charlie Starkweather and others, we have a lot of film from that era, and we have one that was made from the Odeon, which was the old movie theater here in town. The owner of the Odeon did probably like a 15-minute thing in 1925 on the Dodge County Fair. So you get to see what it was like and back then. This should be noted too. Now we're so used to it being in August. In the heat of August. And if you look at the old pictures from back then, they were definitely wearing overcoats, and of course they were all in ties and
very dressed.
It was the social event of the year. And then there's one picture of this woman. She is just dressed to the nines. She looks like some kind of the it girl, like one of the movie stars out there.
Place to be seen.
Yeah.
Everyone's there.
But the reason was, it was being held in September and even into October, and the reason is pretty obvious. Back then, the farmers had to get their fields in. Now it's obviously done very well, I shouldn't say really quickly to all the farmers. I'm sure they wouldn't agree with that. But I mean, it took them a great deal of time through August and early September to get their fields in. So that's why the county fair was in those early years, as late September and early October.
Wow. I can't imagine that just because, I mean, my entire lifetime, my big 54 years, fairs even back home, they're always during the summertime. Back home in Monroe, usually the late part of July. And yeah, you're right. It is like the heat of summer, and it's kind of the crescendo before we have to send the kids back to school.
Yeah, the big schools. Yeah, and of course, back then too, Wayland Academy, Wayland Hall, which is now a dormitory, but that was their main schoolhouse back then. And so they're in school while the county fair is going on.
You can't focus.
and the kids would, run over to the windows. What they did is they actually blackened all those windows on that side so the kids couldn't watch the county fair from the school.
Yeah, that is the ultimate distraction, and there's no other place all those kids want to be.
Oh, yeah, I mean, just, music emanating from the place, and it was...
It sounds like punishment for them. We're talking with local historian Roger Noll here this morning on A Hometown Today as he is sharing the history of the Dodge County Fair with us. Really looking forward to the 2024 Dodge County Fair kicking off this Wednesday. Hometown Today presented by Professional Floor Covering Your Floor and so much more, and brought to you in part by McKinstry's Home Furnishings in beautiful historic downtown Beaver Dam. It was wonderful to talk with Sandy from McKinstry's last Friday here on Hometown Today, and this is your go-to place for you to really learn how to embrace your lazy. Right now, it is Lazy Boy's Long Live the Lazy event at McKinstry's Home Furnishings in downtown Beaver Dam. There is an art to relaxation, and Sandy and the team at McKinstry's can help you create your perfect sanctuary, help you unwind in ultimate comfort with Lazy Boy recliners that start at just $3.99. Just think about recharging after a long day in a cozy reclining sofa. Those prices start at $9.99. And if you've ever wished that, you could get something to make it easier for you to get out in and out of your recliner, you don't have to wish. There is something that exists to make this happen for you, so it is easier. Lazy Boy has a tall base option, and know that they can also turn a rocker recliner into a swivel rocker recliner. There are so many different options. The Lazy Boy Long Live the Lazy event at McKinstry's Home Furnishings in beautiful historic downtown Beaver Dam. More conversation with Roger Noll here on Hometown Today on your hometown station, 95.3 WBEV, powered by Daily Dodge.
This is Randy, owner of Professional Floor Covering, and you're listening to Hometown Today on your hometown station, 95.3 WBEV, powered by Daily Dodge.
Hometown Today, presented by Professional Floor Covering, your floor and so much more, and brought to you in part by McKinstry's Home Furnishings in beautiful historic downtown Beaver Dam. Amy Hudson here with you in the Summerland Furniture Studios and the Daily Dodge TV studios. Really appreciate Roger Noll joining us here today to take us back in time and share the history of the Dodge County Fair. I always learn something when you join us, Roger, no matter what the topic is. And right out of the gate, that first Dodge County Fair, 1867 in Juneau, you had shared, and really interesting just to hear about, how it came to be, here in Beaver Dam, starting out with the horse racing. What about the big attractions, like the big fun stuff? Because when we think about, the Dodge County Fair, any kind of fair, we want to see the animals, of course, and then we want to ride the rides and see what should be seen. When you were talking about how the Dodge County Fair was really the social event of the year. It's where everybody is going and where you could see some pretty cool things and experience them.
Right. They always had like a huge band, actually an orchestra, on the field. It was adjacent to the field. It was in the stands. But the really early on big attraction were balloon ascensions. Basically what we would call helium balloons. With baskets. Mm-hmm. But in that era, it was kerosene, very flammable.
I was just thinking how dangerous that must have been.
And what they had like, I think it was, it was like 10 gallons of kerosene in the balloon, and one guy. And of course, they had like a fire thing, and he would take a glass of kerosene and intermittently pour it into this fire, and then that would cause the balloon to ascend. Now, there was one guy in Beaver Dam who actually became very famous for his balloon ascensions, and he started in 1909. He built his first balloon, and his name was Ed Freeman, and he would take it very, very high, and then he would jump out with a parachute.
Oh, boy.
And land.
He's a daredevil.
Right. He became really famous for this across the country, and he would get $150 to $200 for these performances.
That's a lot of money back then.
It's an amazing amount of money. And, of course, it was quite a bit of risk, too.
There's that. Oh, my goodness.
And so another famous young lad from Beaver Dam. Beaver Dam was, the Dodge County Fair was also the very first time an airplane came into Beaver Dam.
Oh, wow.
And it was an aviatrix. It was not an aviator. Her name was Ruth Law.
Okay, that is really cool. Ruth Law, and what a name.
Yeah, and that was in 1919.
Okay.
She came landed right there on the track and took off again.
Wow, I bet people were so very, very excited to experience something like that.
Yeah. The fair was actually used year-round. The dining halls were used for balls and special occasions. The interior track was used for a football field for Wayland in the early years. The horse track was actually used for regular races, high school races.
Oh, like track and field events?
Yes.
Okay.
So it was always there. In the 1920s, they kind of got into vaudeville acts.
Oh, okay.
That would come in, and they would also have like beauty pageants.
Oh, boy.
Like the Miss Wisconsin. In the 50s, they actually had Alice in Dairyland competition out at the fair. But yeah, they went with vaudeville acts, and they went with a lot of stunt stuff. They would have airplanes that would crash through barns and really just ruin the airplane.
Oh, my goodness.
And the guy would get out and go, "I'm okay," kind of thing. And they would have cars that would go through walls, timbers, and they got a lot of. I think they got a lot of this stuff from the Circus World Museum also. They would get stuff like, a guy being shot out of a cannon type of thing. It was a lot of fun stuff. In the 1930s and the 1940s, it was somewhat subdued, obviously because of the Great Depression and then World War II.
Yeah.
But they never missed one in World War II.
Were they different during that time at all?
Well, I mean, for instance, they had to shut down early because of the light requirement. Everybody would go
usage,
dark.
yeah.
That was one of the things, and obviously, travel was more difficult for both of those decades. But I mean, it was billed the world's greatest county fair throughout its run, and the reason it was called that is because a Secretary of Agriculture, United States Secretary of Agriculture, was visiting early on. I mean, like in the 1880s, he was here, and he visited it, and he just happened to make a comment. This is the greatest county fair I've ever seen. So after that, it was known as the world's greatest county fair. But it got a huge reputation. They would run special trains from Chicago and Milwaukee daily to the county fair. In 1902, they had 70,000 people come to the fair.
What year was that?
1902.
1902.
They would run trains, special trains, and people would come in for the day and then leave at the end of the day. Also, all of the houses along Park Avenue, University Avenue in that area would always board people during the county fair. They made a lot of money doing that. To give you an idea about the trains, every day they would bring in 1,200 people.
Wow, that's impressive.
And take away 1,200 people. So during the run of the fair, they would have like about 10,000 people traveling on the trains in and out of Beaver Dam.
That's really great.
It's amazing.
It
when you
really
think about
is.
it.
Roger Noll, local historian, with us here this morning on Hometown Today as we take a trip back in time, learning about the history of the Dodge County Fair, which of course kicks off this Wednesday. Ninja, are you ready for Dodge County Fair fun?
Food, that's for sure.
Wednesday, as I shared earlier, is Sports Day in Radio Park, and we have Senior Day coming up on Thursday, and this is an action-packed day at Radio Park. If you've never been, it's, of course, inside the Dodge County Fair. There will be some wayfinding signs for you, and it's just a lovely place to enjoy entertainment, to be with your friends and family. Nice shaded area there in Radio Park. We will have bingo for you next Thursday during Senior Day. Bingo will start at 1 p.m. and music from Elvis impersonator Tony Rocker. If you have never experienced Tony Rocker, get ready. He puts on an incredibly fun show, high energy, and that will get started at 2 o'clock on the Radio Park stage, presented by Newman Pools. And we'll also have games, prizes, and so much more for you to enjoy. Be sure to pick up your Senior Day coupon at the Charleston House in Beaver Dam. Seniors 55 and up can save $2 off their admission to the fair before noon. And again, Senior Day next Thursday, this Thursday, August 15th at Radio Park at the Dodge County Fair. And certainly check out our schedule day by day for all the happenings in Radio Park. That is on the Dodge County Fair tab on dailydodge.com. Ninja, you might have to take over the show. I apparently can't talk this morning. It's a Monday. Hometown Today presented by Professional Floor Covering, your floor, and so much more, and brought to you in part by McKinstry's Home Furnishings in beautiful historic downtown Beaver Dam. We will head over to the Daily Dodge News Center for local news, sports, and weather update, and we'll get it going with an update from ABC News here on Hometown Today on your hometown station, 95.3 WBEV, powered by Daily Dodge.
It's Randy from Professional Floor Covering, bringing together friends and neighbors on Hometown Today on your hometown station, 95.3 WBEV, powered by Daily Dodge.
Beautiful sunny day here in Beaver Dam. We are already at 71. Enjoying all the sunshine and every second that we have of summer here to enjoy. And our guest here this morning, Roger Noll, local historian, taking us through the years, sharing the history of the Dodge County Fair, which of course kicks off this Wednesday. We're going to have a lot of fun throughout the fair, especially in Radio Park. Do you think you could drink 171 cans of Coors Light, Roger?
No.
Well, folks will have a chance to win 171 cans of Coors Light, thanks to Frank Distributing. So here's what's happening with this. You swing on by Radio Park Wednesday through Saturday of the fair from 3 to 6, and you can get registered to win 171 cans of Coors Light. And then approximately 6 o'clock each night, we'll be drawing one lucky winner. You do, of course, have to be 21 or older to register, and you must be present to win. Winners will receive a gift certificate redeemable for 171 cans of Coors Light. And you can visit dailydodge.com for details, and definitely check out the Dodge County Fair tab that will give you the daily rundown of everything that is happening at Radio Park. Friday is our Kids and Families Day. We could make friendship bracelets together, Roger, if you wanted to do that. It's going to be happening. I won't make you drink 171 cans of Coors Light. Of course, the morning gets going with Wade and Sherry, the morning show live presented by Rock River Tap. We'll be out there with Hometown Today live, have live video for you of the Junior Riches Showmanship on Daily Dodge TV, yard games and giveaways from 11 to 1. I really enjoy the music performances from the 4-H and the FFA groups. They will be out with us during Kids and Families Day next Friday from 1 until 1:45. Messy Art with Art on the Town, Wisconsin, happening from 2 to 4 next Friday. Bubble blowing art, squirt gun painting, marbled paper, and watercolor mural. That sounds like a lot of fun. And yep, we will be making friendship bracelets. This is a free activity to enjoy from 2 to 4. Friendship bracelet making for kids. Oh, kids 17 and under. So we're out of that age bracket, Roger. Taylor,
no.
I know.
Come
but you know
on.
what? I've got some connections. If
Okay.
you really want a friendship bracelet, I'll get you one. Taylor Tunes Tribute Show, with autograph and photo session for the kids. That starts at 4 o'clock. We will have entertainment for you following Matt Stell's performance in the grandstand. After Matt's show, join us at Radio Park for great live music from FM Rodeo, thanks to the Thirsty Beaver and Slumberland. There is a lot happening with the Dodge County Fair. It really is one of my favorite times of year. We are so happy that you're here with us to walk us through the years of the Dodge County Fair. Before we went to break, we were talking about some of those big attractions, some of those big events that really, like, my eyes were getting really wide and just like a lot of wow moments, especially when you were talking about the balloon ascensions and the kerosene, the first airplane arriving in 1919 with Ruth Law. Just really amazing things.
Yeah, and I thought we'd just take kind of a sampling of what were the main attractions over the years. In 1923, the Kilties came.
The Kilties?
Yes, the Kilties were a 50-piece band from Scotland, and they all wore kilts.
A lot of bagpipes.
Yep.
That's cool, the Kilties.
In 1924, the Donnell sisters, they were gymnasts, and they would stand on each other's heads and do quite acrobatic studies performed with the finesses of superiority.
Ooh, the finesses of superiority. I like that.
Let's see, in 1925, we had the high foot steppings of the trio of, Winter Garden Review dancers. A lot of dancers. We had a trio from Alaska.
Oh, wow. What type
and
of...
and it was ice skating. They actually ice skated out at
Really?
Right.
Okay. And what year would that have been? You said
That would have been 1925.
Okay,
And
so
they were called the Alaska Trio.
so at that time, was the fair still happening? Later in the year, like late September.
I think they would have had kind of like that fake ice kind of thing that you would see in like inside places that weren't used to having ice.
Okay.
So kind of almost like glass type of thing.
Oh.
And then a bunch of reviews always took place in the 20s. They had clowns. Let's see. Let's go up into the 1930s. In the 1930s, they had their first motor derby day.
Okay, that's a big deal.
Motorcycle races, auto polo.
Auto polo. What
So they hung out their windows and tried to score balls.
Oh my goodness. Okay, that's funny.
And they had an auto head-on collision.
Of course they did.
Let's see. In 1940, so we're skipping, they had the Do Ray sisters.
Were they wildly popular at the time?
I have no idea. But it was it was an accordion and a sax.
Oh, wow.
So-
That's an interesting combination.
Yep. In 1954, now in 1954, we're really getting into the auto kind of stuff.
Okay.
And they had Death Rides Again.
What?
3 famous auto daredevils compete against each other as to how daredevilly they can be. And they take off on ramps and all that kind of stuff.
Oh, yeah, kind of like before Evel Knievel
Yeah.
hit the scene.
Right. In 1954, we had the Fair Follies, which actually came from New York and from the Rockets and that kind of stuff, the Rockettes.
Was it like a variety show,
Yeah,
being
right.
the Follies? Okay.
Right. Very scantily clad, by the way.
Oh, boy.
Had that. And of course, during this time period also, they always had the circuses also appeared at the Dodge County Fairgrounds.
Oh, during the same time.
And actually, Beaver Dam is pretty well known. It was the home of 3 circus troupes.
Really?
Right. And we do hold a place in history in that one of those troupes was the very first troupe to transport on railroad. Otherwise, they would just, ride their wagons,
wagons, yeah.
from town to town. So,
That's really interesting.
in 1941, for the centennial, Beaver Dam Centennial, there was a huge thing at the Dodge County Fairgrounds. They made this amazing set, and it traversed the entire history of Beaver Dam, and had close to like 500, 600 people in the cast of this production.
Wow.
It was quite amazing. In the 1960s, we would see more of the country music acts start coming in. In 1950, I should go to 1958, which is a very important date. On March 13th, 1958, 2 young boys were playing with matches underneath the grandstand and started the whole place ablaze.
Oh, no.
Within 15 minutes, the grandstands were fully engulfed in flames. It took along about 4 or 5 of the other adjoining buildings.
goodness.
What happened was, what caused the fire to be so severe so immediately was that the grandstands had an overhang, obviously, to protect people when it rained. But over the years, as it was started to leak and became in disrepair, instead of putting like shingles or anything on the top of it, they just threw tar over it and kept putting tars, just tons and tons of tar over the top of it. And once that hit the fire, it was gone like that. Those 2 boys still live in Beaver Dam.
Really?
I will not name them, but you know who you are.
Oh, wow. Was there anything happening on the grounds that
No,
they
not
were
in
just
March.
up to
Now,
shenanigans?
I lived right on Healy Avenue, which is kind of on a hill just above the fairgrounds, and I was 4 years old, and I remember my dad taking me up to the corner of a mill in Healy and putting me on his shoulders, and we just watched it burn down.
Wow.
It was, for 4 years old, but it's very vivid in my mind.
I bet. That's traumatic.
Now the fair would continue to stay there for the next few years, and then in 1961 was the first year that it went out to its current location.
Okay. 1961. What was the first act to play in the grandstands in
Boy,
that
I
new
really-
location?
I really don't know.
You had to ask that, Amy.
But let me see if I can find some. Yeah, I just have these wonderful pictures of the destruction.
I can't imagine. We're talking with Roger Noll here this morning on Hometown Today. Roger is taking us through the history of the Dodge County Fair, which of course kicks off this Wednesday, goes through Sunday for a rundown of all the fun you get to have with us in Radio Park. Please head to dailydodge.com and click on the tab for Dodge County Fair. It is that easy.
I'm trying to find the carnival and the rides became much more expansive once they were able to get out. Well, everything became more expansive. There was a much more of a display of farm implements at the new location. The barns were much more accessible for the display of animals and for crops and for baking and that kind of stuff. I remember going out there as a kid, and it was just the best time.
Oh, I bet. It's still the best time.
And they still continued for a while with sulky racing at the new grandstand. And then they got they had regular horse racing too.
Okay.
The speed racing. They had equestrian shows there from England. They had demolition derbies. That was a big thing in the 60s. Everybody went out to the fairgrounds to see demolition derbies.
Love to see the cars get
Yeah,
smashed up.
They had a horse that jumped off of a high ladder into a tub of water.
Say that again. What?
Well, yeah. So
I'm trying. I
so they
was
would
listening
take
and trying to
take
picture
it up,
like what?
and it had to be like about 3 stories high. This ramp, and then the horse would jump off the ramp into this into this tub of water.
Okay, that's terrifying.
I know it is.
My goodness! Wow, talk about daredeviling.
We had wing riders on airplanes. The basic. Unfortunately, we had mud wrestling.
Oh wow! Hey, there's nothing wrong with that. Yikes!
One of the big acts was Myron Florin. If anybody remembers those days, Myron Florin was the accordion player for Lawrence Welk.
Oh my goodness! My grandmother would have loved that.
And then then we started seeing the real country stars come in. Kitty Wells came in, Loretta Lynn, and then towards the late 1970s, they started getting in a few rock and roll stars too.
Okay.
Blood, Sweat, and Tears was in 1974.
That had to have been a really big show.
Yeah. Tammy Wynette, Roy Clark
Oh wow!
in 87. Larry Gatlin and the Gatlin Brothers in 88.
All the gold in California. Love the Gatlin brothers.
Statler Brothers in 94. The Oak Ridge Boys in 95. Obviously, they liked male groups.
Yeah.
Merle Haggard in 1996. and Billy Ray Cyrus in 1997.
Wow, was that after Achy Breaky Heart?
Yeah, that would have
became
been
so
after
big?
Iggy and before Miley.
Okay. Wow.
Tracy Atkins, 2005, and Miranda Lambert in 2008.
Wow.
So they really went to that kind of like that country western theme
Yeah.
more than anything.
And people love it.
Oh, yeah.
You know, absolutely. Will you be making an appearance at the Dodge County Fair? Do you have any plans to go out there?
Oh, I'll
and
probably
enjoy?
go out, yes.
What do you enjoy doing out there?
To tell you, I'm just a people watcher.
Yeah.
I love to just walk around and, go through the buildings and things like that. So.
Yeah, same. Radio Park is a perfect place to people watch and to enjoy nice shades. So swing on over and say hello when you're out there.
Yeah, sounds good.
And we really appreciate you joining us here this morning. It's all so very, very interesting. I still have that image in my head with the horse. Like, that is terrifying. Terrifying, Roger.
I have a picture here of it.
Really? May I see it? Oh.
Sure.
Local historian Roger Noll joining us here this morning on Hometowns Day, giving us a look through the years at the Dodge County Fair, which kicks off this Wednesday, goes through Sunday, and we have tons of fun planned for you in Radio Park. Please check out the day-to-day schedule. You can do that on dailydodge.com simply by clicking on the Dodge County Fair tab. Let me see this. Oh my goodness, this looks like something out of the Wild West. Holy cow. That's terrifying. I hope there was never an incident or an accident with any of those beautiful horses. That's crazy, Roger Noll.
Well, there's actually a whole movie about this act.
Okay.
It was located in Atlantic City. That's where they had this act most. And it was about a girl. I wish I could remember the title of it. I can't, folks.
When
But
you
if
do remember, write it down. Let
But
me
if
know.
but if you Google it, I'm sure movie about diving horse or mule or whatever. And,
Okay.
But yeah, I mean it was a very popular type event.
Well, and very
in those
exciting.
days.
Yeah.
Wild hearts can't be broken.
Okay, there it is.
Thank you. Wild Hearts. I love it. Wild Hearts can't be broken.
broken.
As always, super interesting conversation with you and really appreciate your time. Thank you.
Oh yeah, it's great to be here.
Thanks. Local historian Roger Noll with us here this morning on Hometowns Day, presented by Professional Floor, covering your floor and so much more, and brought to you in part by McKinstry's Home Furnishings in beautiful historic downtown Beaverton. This is Hometowns Day on your hometown station, 95.3 WBEV, powered by Daily Dodge.